Hi, this is just a short video to walk you through how to submit your information for July Open Studios via our form at camopenstudios.org. So in this video I'm assuming that you have already joined as either an exhibiting solo artist or as a group member. Either way, the steps are pretty similar. So once you are logged in, you want to head to my account, July Open Studios, and submit info for July Open Studios, which is where I am now. There's information here to read through and a note on groups. One of the things with group membership is that it's important that you decide on a description and a title that will match across all of them, because for group memberships we will take one set of details for the printed guide. So yes, decide amongst yourselves what will be going in. So the first thing to sort of show you is that we have a preview here which roughly matches what last year's guide looks like, or what listing in last year's guide looks like. And this is and this at the moment doesn't have any information in it apart from my member name. And once we've submitted some information via the form, this will be populated and it will give you an idea of how the listing may look in the printed guide. So we'll go down to the form now, and there's some more stuff to read through here. So first things first, guide entry name. Now in terms of the preview, this is the name of the listing which sits next to the location number, which will be determined after all the information has been submitted by all the members. This is pulled out of your membership details, so if you want to edit this, we don't do it via this form. We can click here to open up your profile page and edit your name there if it's not as it should be. But my name is correct, so I'm happy with that. And then we move on to the guide entry heading. So this is not your name, but if going by the guide here, this is the small kind of description of, you know, maybe what your media are, for example. So I might put watercolor painting and ceramics, for example. So watercolor painting, ceramics. We are limited in space in the printed guide, so we limit this field to 30 characters, so something punchy. The entry description is a longer piece, so I'm going to copy something from the guide here. A chance to visit my garden, studio space, etc. 150 characters available to you there. This is where you choose your primary art media, which will potentially be included in the guide. I think it was not in last year's guide, but we will endeavour to include it in this year's guide. So let's say painting. Painting, there we go, lovely. Guide entry image. Now, we need this to be at least 700 pixels wide and 700 pixels tall. If you submit something square, that's how it will be printed. If you submit something that's, for example, 700 pixels wide and 1000 pixels tall, it's going to be hard cropped to a square. So it's worth bearing in mind that you should try and submit something that is square. 700 pixels wide and 700 pixels high are the minimum width and height for your image. That's so that we get a good resolution in the printed guide. So I'm going to click on add an image, and I get the option to upload files. If we've already uploaded some images to your portfolio, you can click on my image media library, and this will load the images that you have already added. So I'm going to click on this one here from my library. Lovely, and that's in place. These fields I hope are quite self-explanatory. Website, it must include the http:// or https:// This means that it will work on the website, and we know it's a correct website URL. So I'm going to put https Then we move on to the guide entry email address. This is just your email address. So let's put in pete@camopenstudios.org and your phone number 1223 222222. This will be formatted properly in the guide, so your spaces will be removed or added as required, and you will see this in the preview up the top when we submit this information. Anything you want to leave out, you can leave out. It's worth pointing out if you don't want to include a phone number or an email address, you don't have to, similarly with the website. But of course, the more information you include, the more useful your listing in the guide is. Your preferred primary contact method is about what we include in the guide. So if you prefer us to show your email address or your phone number, that's where you can set this here. If there is space, we will try and print both, but it really does come down to what space we have available. Now, this point is only really for members of a group. So this is the field where you select the other members of your group. So you can start typing a name. This is a select field, but if you click into it, it's going to start showing you a list of names. You can either scroll through them, or we can start typing to thin out the list. So if I type, for example, Rachel, it will do a little search, and yes, Rachel's part of my group. Wonderful, I'll add her. Then I can repeat this for the other members of my group. So let's go again and do Emmy Gordon. Just type some of it, click there, and now these are the two members of my group. And when I submit this, they will be listed alongside my name at the top here, as they will be shown in in the printed guide. So coming back down here, venue address. This is one of the most important fields for us and for the digital side of how we will show your participation in the show. So we're using Google Maps here, so you can start searching for an address. So let's have a look for the Pitt Building. Lovely, and that comes up immediately. Let's make sure we're choosing the Pitt Building in Cambridge. We can't filter, unfortunately, by locations only in Cambridgeshire, but it's pretty obvious. So clicking on that will place a pin on the map, and this stores a whole bunch of data about the location in the back end for us, which is really helpful. Now, if the address you see here is not what you expect to be printed in the guide, and through some testing we found that some locations just aren't listed in Google as businesses, in that situation, please find your address in the map. You can zoom in and you can go and find your location and specifically drop a pin. So for example, if you know you're on Pembroke Street and you're here, you can click here to drop a pin, and that will give us an address. But we can use this field below to enter the addresses we would like it to be shown in the guide, in the printed guide and online. But we still need this data submitted so that we can get you listed on the map and people can put you in as part of their route during the July Open Studios. So hopefully that's clear. And we move on now to additional venue instructions. These will be shown online. So for example, if access to your studio is down the side of the house, for example, you might want to put that in here. This is just some additional information for your visitors so they can find you easily. And then the venue type, again, hopefully self-explanatory, either a working studio or part of an exhibition. Guide entry venue accessibility. If it's not accessible, put it down. If you're able to help someone, if maybe there's a step into your venue that maybe you need that you can assist someone over, maybe you're able to offer assistance in that way, or you're a fully accessible venue. Just make a selection here, that would be great, and maybe put some details in your additional venue instructions about the assistance you can offer. The guide entry weekends. Now this is where you choose the weekends that you will be exhibiting. Weekend 1, 2, 3 and 4. If you're doing weekend 1 and 3, just select those and that will be reflected in the guide. Additional fields here, if you're offering tuition or commissions, it's a yes or no. Choose which works for you. So finally, we're at the point where we can save. Now you can save at any point that you wish. whilst entering details in this form. You don't have to complete the form. You can submit some of it, and those details will be saved. But obviously, by the 14th of February, it will be very important that you do submit everything that you want submitted. So yes, at the bottom of the form we have a Save Details button. I'm going to click on that now, and my page will refresh. So we'll see the little icon there spinning. We'll just allow that to complete, and we will see on scrolling back down this page that our kind of preview, this is not set in stone. I suspect the design will change somewhat, but this will show us roughly how things are going to look based on the submitted data. So you can see here, for a group member, I've got my name plus the 2 other members of the group that were included in the form. This is our guide entry header, or guide header entry heading, guide entry heading here, guide entry description here, and the submitted address details here. So 5A Pembroke Street, Cambridge. Again, this is the data that was just found, or that we selected in Google Maps. If I want to change the way this looks at all, I can do that in a field below. I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. My email address, my website address, my email address, and my contact phone number are all listed, and the weekends that we selected, as well as the type of venue that we're in. Because we haven't said it's an accessible space, we don't show any accessible icons. So let's make a couple of changes, and I'll show you how the preview will change in line with that. So in here, I'm going to change my address. If, for example, I know that there's a building name here, so 5A Pembroke Street, I do kind of want that address. However, I don't want the UK, but my building might be called, I don't know, The House. Very uncreative, but whatever. That's going to be the name of the building. And my venue is fully accessible, so I'm going to mark that as fully accessible. And then I'm going to save details. We'll let this run again, and we will see at the top of the screen that our preview will have updated. Okay, so now you can see that the address changes I made are reflected here, and the fact that we are fully accessible venue is noted here. Again, the layout here might change, but this is how you submit your details for July Open Studios. Hope it's been helpful. If you do have any questions, you can submit an email, or send an email rather, to it@camopenstudios.org, and we will attempt to answer your questions. I hope this was helpful. Thank you for watching.